Well, we've been doing videos for almost 2 years now, and I don't think we've ever had a video generate as much interest, as many comments quickly, at least, as this last video we did where we were modifying this hitch to try to lift our heavy trailer. Early on in the comments, it was pretty clear that this was really interesting to folks because we had several comments on just ideas to improve what we were trying to do. If you recollect, where we were is we had this hitch all the way out here. It was 45 inches, another 9 inches further out here to this side, okay? And with that much length, it just puts a lot of stress on the fork. And that was the thumbnail that we used, was one fork being, you know, really deflected a long way, bent a long way.
It was bent out of shape.
It was bent out of shape, and I think by the time everybody got done watching it, some other people were bent out of shape.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is where we ended our story. Okay, so what we did was we cut this here as we described. We slid it back such that this nut right here was against the end of the fork, gaining effectively 9 inches, 20%. Now we're about 36 inches from the front of the fork. Now this is still a long ways from the fork. In fact, you know, of course I am cheeseburger challenged, as we know, but I was able to sit on here, and I mean, you know, if I get to rocking, I could almost rock the back wheel off the ground from this far out.
Did you eat another cheeseburger today?
I did not have a cheeseburger today. Why don't we pause this video and let's go get one?
Sounds good to me.
Oh well, we probably got to get on with this.
Okay.
Idea number one, viewer idea number one, was to turn this over and put the ball on top so that you could slide this back further. So I'll show you what that would look like. Okay, so with this approach, we can slide this back as far as we want.
Oh, nice.
Okay?
So you can get it, well, you can't get it all the way back.
But we probably could go back to about here. Now, do you see any negatives with this approach?
I do.
What's the negative?
Well, how are you going to keep it from sliding either way?
Exactly. This right here, you know, is just not going to be tight enough. I don't think I could put that tight enough to hold down there to be able to push the trailer. Now the chain, of course, prevents it from coming, you know, forward any when you're going backward with the tractor, forward with the trailer. But the purpose of the original angle iron there and this nut after our approach was to keep it from sliding this way. And I just don't see that we have another solution there. So that's choice number one. We'll show these, okay? Choice number two was to run a chain up over the top.
I don't know that I would be able to do that.
No, see, I think in order to make this work, we would have to have something that'll tighten here.
Okay.
Also, these safety rings here would be better if they were out on this end in that scenario.
Oh, explain that to those of us who are engineering challenged.
Okay, well, what's going on here is that the objective here would be for the chain, when as the fork begins to deflect, the chain would get tight and would prevent the fork from deflecting, would provide support.
I gotcha.
So the load would be transferred up here,
okay,
so that the fork couldn't bend.
Okay.
So that would have more positive impact if the chain were connected
further out. So, okay, that makes sense.
The next proposal was to use both forks. And I can't really demonstrate that. I just don't have the appropriate steel or whatever. But there is no question that distributing the load over both forks would help this a lot.
But there's several companies that do make
Yep.
a certain, because we saw them.
We saw
on
online,
your blog.
actually. When I bought this one, I saw it. I should have bought the one for 2 forks, I suppose, then. But there was 2 or 3 reasons. One, it was a lot more expensive.
Okay.
And the other was I didn't want to have to adjust my forks to a precise width. Slide them in and out to a precise width. I wanted just to be able to slap it on there really quick and go.
Okay.
And for my lightweight trailer, it really was fine. And I think that's one of the key points is you can do whatever you want for a lightweight trailer. It's only when you get into these heavier trailers that you actually even have to think about this.
What will you consider lightweight?
It's the tongue weight that counts. It's not the whole trailer weight.
Okay.
Our trailer is really heavy on the tongue for a few reasons. Number one, because of the dump feature, it has the battery and the hydraulic oil all up front. It also has a super duper jack, more than we need, that's pretty heavy.
Okay.
And also the 2 axles are further back on that trailer than on most trailers. They wanted to make it safe to be able to raise the dump trailer and dump it even when a truck wasn't connected. And so in order to do that, the axles needed to be further to the back.
Okay, that all sounds good.
But that makes the tongue weight heavier. So those are the ideas that were proposed. I suspect what we ought to do is just experiment with one or two of them here. Okay, so here's our test mechanism. This is meant to test a little bit of everything. So notice the chain's a little bit loose. It's just as tight as I can get it. And I've got the ball slid back another inch or two from where it was before. So we're actually gonna, and I've moved the fork to the center. Talk more about that in a minute. And yeah, that's not perfect because it can come loose here. But it'll be good for this demonstration. So we would expect the chain to tighten as the fork deflects, and to kind of pick that up and all this to become tight. So the chain is tight, so it's obviously taking some of the load up the chain. You can see that there's still a little deflection, probably an inch or so of deflection at this point. So the chain's definitely helping. Moving it back a little bit has helped a lot. What do you think?
There's not a lot of deflection though.
No. Now, we could potentially move the ball back a little bit further, but of course with the other fork on, then we wouldn't be able to turn very short. See how that fork would turn into the frame of the trailer.
You could take that fork off though.
Yeah, you could take that fork off. Pretty soon the simplicity that we're trying to get into is
going to be gone.
Is going to be gone.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of view here.
I have one concern about the chain being right up against your latch here.
Oh, is it pinning it? Doesn't look good, does it?
No.
We better let that down. I don't believe it was bending it, but it sure looks like it would.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. Let's take the chain off now and see how much it deflects without the chain.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the chain was really taking a lot of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. So that was helpful.
Okay, and it looks to me like we would have another 3 or 4 inches. Let's see what that does.
Okay.
Because of the thickness of the fork, that's as far on as it'll go.
Okay.
That actually works in our favor. You know, I was worried about how we were going to keep it from pushing further that way. Now I know. Problem is, it may take a sledgehammer to get it off.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if that makes any difference.
Well, it still deflects a good bit. I guess we should be measuring this, but still more than with the chain. Maybe about the same as last time, don't you think?
You're right. I mean, it's still too much.
Yeah.
Right, this is still too much to be comfortable with.
Right, placing that amount of stress on the fork. Next.
So I think really where we are is we're going to have to use both forks, and I think that would make this work.
But you don't have a thing for both forks.
Oh.
Does that mean you're going to spend more money?
Oh, I don't know. Because of this video, I've had several offers of people willing to come over and help me weld. So who
that
knows?
Sounds good.
Maybe we'll make our own project. And had a guy that was willing to come up from Evansville to help me weld. So I'd enjoy learning some good welding technique anyway.
Well, wait. Will that save me money, or would you buy more equipment to do the welding?
Have you ever seen anything related to the tractor hobby save you money?
No.
Okay, then do you need any more?
No, but I think Mama needs a new purse.
You think so?
Yeah. Bucket time.
The other area that brought up a lot of talk about the fork-mounted trailer hitch or receiver hitch was in the idea that I might be putting entirely too much stress on the booms of the loader. I had the forks on one side. I didn't have a fork in the middle, and so I was putting a lot of stress on one side, one arm of the loader. And so there's no question that that's not a good thing, right? I mean, but there's also no question that we all do that. Not necessarily with a loader-mounted receiver hitch, but all of us are, if you use your tractor very much at all, you find yourself prying with the corner of your loader. Yes, you shouldn't, I understand, but somehow you get in a situation where you're trying to get a rock out, get a stump out, something that you can't get access to. It just happens all the time. But it is something we need to guard against. And my friend Paul Short pointed that out so eloquently. And I really appreciate him doing that, because it never hurts any of us to be reminded that we got to take care of our equipment. You know, we can't treat it like it's just indestructible, because it's not, just like we're not, right? So because of Paul asking about this, I decided to go ahead and get my loader in as level a position as I can get it. I don't know if you've seen my concrete pouring video. I'm not incredibly impressed with the concrete solution that I have here, so
In other words, it's not level.
it's not level, but it's the best I got. And there's 2 or 3 variables here that make this measurement difficult. One is just you need a really level place. The second is the tire pressure in the rear wheels, especially. The front wheels are on a swivel, so it doesn't really matter, but the rear wheel tire pressure is very relevant. And I believe one of mine is slightly inflated more than the other. And the other thing that I noticed, I might even demonstrate that in a minute, is I have the backhoe on right now. I could swing that backhoe left to right and make a big change. We'll test that in just a minute. But right now I have the backhoe centered as much as possible. As much as possible, I'm showing things as best I can. And so what I've got is, just as Paul directed, I've got the bucket just off the floor, and I'm showing, what is that, 3/4?
Looks like it.
And over here, what is that, 5/8 or a half?
Well, 5/8 maybe? I don't know.
The point is, within the margin of error. I don't really think we have any issue with our bucket being sprung. Not our bucket, our loader boom being sprung. And I really wouldn't expect that, again, because this is not nearly the hardest I've treated the tractor. I mean, some of the work we've done trying to get out some really packed soil and some other situations we've been into, we've worked the tractor pretty hard. And I guess it might be a good place to maybe make a little joke here, as some of you guys that are having trouble with your loaders getting sprung, maybe you ought to consider this
Green color?
this green color. But that is a little bit of joking. There's no question, it doesn't matter what brand of tractor you have, you can abuse it and you can tear it up. But there's also no question that some components of some tractors are built stronger than others, and a component like this, a situation like this, is not going to be on a spec sheet. You know, you're not going to see a spec sheet of how hard can you twist your loader before it's going to bend, right? I mean, so you have to look close, and when you're looking at a new tractor, you need to look at how it's built. Look how strong it's built. Look how tough it's built in some of those areas, and you know, it's more important to do that sometimes than some of the creature comforts, because when the going gets tough, you're going to push that tractor pretty hard. You just can't help it. You think, if I just push a little bit harder, I can get this stump out, or I can get this rock moved, or whatever the situation is. In any case, I believe our loader is still in good shape. I also believe that our solution for a fork-mounted hitch is not there yet.
You know, I thought you were going to go to the area that you wanted a newer, bigger, better, beefier tractor. So I was going to get a little concerned, because that sounds like cha-ching!
I didn't even think of that.
Oh,
But now that
I
you've
shouldn't have
mentioned
mentioned it. No.
that you've
Forget
mentioned it.
I ever said anything.
You know, there was an option number 4. While we're talking about this, there was another option that people kept mentioning about, well, why don't you just use the rear receiver hitch? And some people were providing pictures and links to rear receiver hitches. Guys, I have the heavy hitch. It is the premier rear receiver hitch made for these little tractors, because not only is it a receiver, it's got the weight bracket. It's very well made. And what's the coupon code, Christy?
TTWT.
At heavyhitch.com, and you get a 5% discount. Incredible product, and incredible service there from Greg at Heavy Hitch. So go check that out. That's a great rear receiver hitch. So why am I going to all this pain to try to find a front mount solution? Well, number one is, I just do this for fun, right? I mean, we don't need any of this stuff, Christy.
We don't. Can we sell it? Okay. Maybe not.
But if it was merely a case of need, there's no question that the rear hitch gets the job done.
And you use that. I've seen you use that more often than, well, I've hardly ever seen you use the fork one, so.
It's just an experiment. It's a fun thing to try.
Yeah.
To me, that's what our viewers want to see, interesting and challenging situations and see if we can find solutions to new problems. And I think if we just show the same things over and over and over, no one's going to learn.
Right.
And because of that, I appreciate everyone's comments and everyone's ideas on this video.
Well, I think you learned that Titan one for one fork really doesn't work.
It doesn't work for our forks. I think for a forklift that's maybe if you've got 4-inch forks, heavier forks.
Okay.
Those little 3-inch forks we have, and this little tractor is just too far out front. I just don't think that's the right solution. We got a couple ideas on that. I'm kind of rambling around here, but we might look into one of those front plates that has a 2-inch receiver on it. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually get me a new Artilian frame or something that's got the. Hey, there's something I can buy.
Oh my goodness.
It's got the receiver built in. If you check out my website, tractortimewithtim.com, you can see on there all the options that I've kind of gone through as possible for front-mounted forks. Now, back to why would you want it front-mounted? Why is that benefit? Well, it's easier to drive into something than it is to back in. A little easier to hook onto the front than it is the back. That's one thing. But the bigger part is when I'm putting this trailer in the shed here, it's a little bit tight, and it has to be positioned perfectly because our shed's so small, right? Our shed is just so tiny that we need it positioned exactly where we want it. Well, when you're driving forward, you have so much more control because you can move the tongue of the trailer back and forth so easily and so quickly. If you've never tried it, you'll be amazed. But it does have the weaknesses that everybody has described here. So we'll continue to search for a solution for that. And until then, I'll just have to deal with the sore neck and maybe multiple trips in and out.
Maybe.
Backing it in using my heavy hitch.
It sounds like, though, the finance committee is going to have to convene.
Yeah, the finance committee has a lot of work ahead of itself, right?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Unfortunately, one of the terms they use during the budget process is reconciliation. Do you think we'll have to have any reconciliation during our budget process?
Maybe.
You think so? I hope not.
Well, I don't exactly know what that means in the real world, but...
Well, I'm not sure anybody does.
Yeah.
It just means a bunch of people getting together in the government and spouting off like normal.
I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Hey, one thing, I've never said that I'm the world's foremost expert on all of these ideas. This is just meant to be entertaining for you guys, and I enjoy your comments. I enjoy your ideas. As long as you keep it positive. We are very thankful to have all of our subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed to us, sign up, press the thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.